Ladies and gentlemen, here it is.
Cha-Cha Music Review Podcast.
Cha-Cha Music Review Podcast.
Cha-Cha Music Review Podcast.
Gotta get it.
This is not Cha Music Review Podcast.
Cha-Cha Music Review Podcast.
Cha-Cha Music Review Podcast.
Cha-Cha Music Review Podcast.
Baby, let's go.
Good day, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and members of the Cha-Cha Nation. Welcome to another episode of the Cha-Cha Album Review Series on the Cha-Cha Music Review Podcast with your one and only Artiste, aka your musical plug, creator of the Energy Force. And I'm not going to be alone on this episode. I have a friend of mine in the building with me, and without wasting much of your time, let me allow her to introduce herself.
Hello, everyone. I'm Merit. Just call me Merit.
Today we'll be talking about Ckay's debut album. For those of you that don't know, this is going to be Ckay's first official album. He released an EP on a couple of I think last year or thereabout. But then again, this is going to be his first official debut album. The album is titled Sad Romance. The album was released on the 23rd of September 2022. It has 12 tracks and it features the artists as Davido, Focalistic, Ayra, Starr, Abidoza, Ronisia, and Mayra and Andrade. Now, the production credit goes to the likes of Crystal, Ckay himself, P2J, Charlene Ansom, Hoskins, Abayomi, Iilerioluwa. You have Ramoni, you have Abidoza, you have Sarz, you have BMH, you have Blaisebeatz, and you have Tempo. Those are the producers that work on the album. So, Merit, let me ask you this. When you first listened to the album for the first time, what was your first impression about the album?
Okay, I when I first listened to the album, honestly, I was not having any expectations because I'm very gracious with debut albums because it's the first and I always appreciate whatever they put out. So when I first listened to the album, it's not a sound that I'm into like that, so I was not really wowed.
Okay, like you said, it's not a sound that you're really into. So when you listen to it for the first time, you were not really wowed. But what happened after listening it, like let's say the second time, the third time? Did you say, okay, I mean, yes, I'm not used to this sound, but then again, I enjoyed the sound, or you didn't even just enjoy it at all?
I think my opinion changed when I listened to it the third time. Yes, that was when I found out, okay, there are some tracks that I really like on it. Yeah.
For the first time when I listened to the album, I didn't quite connect with the album. I was like, I don't know what I feel about this album, so I just left it. Then after I went to pick it up for the second time, I listened to it for the second, third, and fourth time. Then I finally connected with it. I'm like, okay. Now it on the enter, and like you rightly said, and I begin to find out, okay, these are my favorite tracks, these are not my favorite tracks. Yeah. But before we get into what track did it for you and what track did not do it for you, let's talk about the production of the album. So in terms of production, where will you say the album is, or what will you say about the production of the album?
Okay, first I want to say that I did not do this like in-depth investigation into who worked on the album or not. So when you mentioned that Ckay himself did some work on it, I was impressed. Some artists they just bring their vocal energy and that's just it. So for the production, what I'll give it, I think it's impressive. They did a good work. Yeah. They did a good work.
Okay, yeah, I mean, definitely, like you said. And for those people that really don't know, Ckay started off as a producer under Chocolate City. That was where he started off his career before he started switching into singing and all of that. So him being one of the producers on the album, and it's something that I say it really, really came through. The production, like you rightly said, they did well on the production. I mean, from the first track, which is New, to the last track, which is Love Wanting, you could tell that they did a lot of work on the production of the album, and sonically wise, the album sounds very, very great. Now that we've spoken about the production and we've spoken about our first impression on the album, so what songs would you say stood out for you and why? And what song will you say, compared to every other song, on the album, didn't really make it for you?
Okay, let me start with the ones that I love so much. And that should be the first. I think there are 3 of them, or 4. Yeah. The first is the one with Ayra, Starr. That's Come Close, I guess. And then there's another one, You Cheated, I Cheated Too. I don't know if Ckay is going to hear this, but thank you so much for putting that Love One City bonus on it. Thank you so much. Then, for the tracks that did not quite do it for me, that's What Are We, number 1. I did not really it has come out a long time ago.
Yeah, it came out as a single.
Yes, it came out as a single first. It did not really do it for me. Then Soldier too. I did not really click with Soldier.
For me, in terms of the song that really caught my attention, the first track is titled You, and You already came out as a single, so I knew what the track was already, so I didn't even bother. But the second track, which is Madu really caught my attention, because when I finally listened to it again for the 3rd time, I could understand, Madu is one of those kind of sexy, romantic, song that you listen to and it sets you in that kind of mood. So I really connected with Madu. But my best song on the album has to be the track number 10, which is titled By Now. I mean, if you listen to the song, you know why the song is. I think Ckay it's a song where I just paint a picture like, you man, what's happening now? By now you should be, and I'm not gonna lie
and funny thing is that particular track reminds me of Omale. I was listening to it and then I was just getting Omale vibes. I was like,
yeah.
Are you sure Omale did not write these lyrics for this guy?
I mean, I'm not going to like that's like my favorite song on the album. By Now is my favorite song. The second song I like has to be Madu. I like Madu too. Then I also like the song with Ayra Starr, which is Come Close. And I mean, I have to say this. Big shout out to Ayra Starr. For me, I feel like she was the one that even killed this song and not Ckay. Like she took the song away from Ckay and she just.
I don't agree. I don't agree with that. Ckay did a good job on that song. Ayra did a good job too. No, they both killed it. Another song I like is Leave Me Alone. I guess I always like songs with that title. Leave Me Alone is just the best.
Okay. In terms of songs that I really do not like, I think if I'm going to be honest and if I'm going to be fair, I think You Cheated, I Cheated, and Soldier were the 2 songs
you didn't really like
that
it.
I think, I didn't really like it compared to how I like every other songs, on the album. By the time I was listening to the album for the 5th time, I think I skipped You Cheated, I Cheated, and I also skipped Soldier. But every other song, even going back to the last track, which is the Love One City bonus, it felt, because the thing is, the Love One City bonus on this album, this version is different from the version that was released. The instrumentals were changed and his vocals were, you could tell that he kind of re-recorded the song using a new instrumental, and all of that. And it made sense, because when I first saw it, I'm like, Ckay now, wow, we don't hear Love One City tire now. But when I started listening to it, it felt so fresh in my ear. I'm like, okay, fine. I mean, if this is the version you are giving me, then I connect with it.
That's why he needs to hear this podcast and hear me say thank you so much, Ckay. Thank you for putting it there.
Yeah, hopefully he gets to listen to the podcast. So now we've spoken about the production, we've spoken about the songs we like, we've spoken about the songs we don't like, we've spoken about how the album made us feel. Now, in terms of the theme of the album, because the title of the album is Sad Romance, would you say there was some sort of connection with the songs on the album and the album title? And also, if you are to rate the album, let's say over 10, what is the rating going to be and why?
Okay. I've actually thought about the title of this album, and for me, I feel it's more like vengeance, or how do I put it? It's more like wicked romance, not even sad romance, because this is definitely an outpouring of someone who has gone through maybe heartbreak, and now he has come out of that heartbreak and he's now after girls. Whether you have a boyfriend or whether you, and this album is in 3 parts for me. I feel the first part is that has that bad boy vibes, that and then towards the ending, I think that was from what song was that?
That should be from Samson and Delilah.
Yes. Then you get this pleading for love, Now he's now appealing to the girl to love him back. Because from the beginning he has this bad boy vibe that I don't care about your heart or whatever, just come, let me and you date together, you get. But then towards the end he's appealing, he's now falling in love. So the album is in 2 parts for me, and it's not really if you can change it to Wicked Romance, that will work better. And then the album is going to be 8/10 for me. And for a debut album, it's really good. Yes.
Okay. The thing is, for me also, I'm going to say this in terms of the theme of the album, being relatable to the name of the album, which is Sad Romance. I mean, without any doubt, you can tell that every song on the album has to do with romance. Now, whether it is sad, whether it is wicked, whether it is vengeance, that's another topic to debate on. But every song, from the first song, which is You, to Madu, to Leave Me Alone, to You Cheated, I Cheated, down on to Love You and Love Vanity, it's all about romance. And I love the fact that it tried to create this emotional feeling around the whole song, and it was a perfect blend for me. And like you also rightly said, for you said the album is kind of in a 2 parts for you. For me also, in terms of production wise, I feel like the album is also in a 2 part, because if you listen to the first 4-5 songs, you could tell that the production of those 4-5 songs, they were more heavy towards jazz. So as if there was a lot of jazz influence that played on the production. But again, you could hear those substitute Afrobeat on it. And now for those of you that don't know, this is not an album you say, oh, this is, I mean, yes, again, it is Ckay and it's coming out of Nigeria, but please do not do the mistake and classify this album as an Afrobeat album. If anything, this is an album under the category of emo Afrobeat. Let me use that word, emo Afrobeat. So that's why, again, that's why I said, if you listen carefully, you will notice that there was a lot of jazz influence on the first 5 tracks, and then in the middle you could hear a little bit of Afro pop. There was a bit of pop, especially when you got to Come Closer. Then you move to Love Vanity, you could hear Amapiano on Love Vanity. Then Soja had that strong Afrobeat and pop elements, and then the rest of the song like that. So in terms of the production also, the album was, again, like I said, very, very solid for me. And yes, if I'm going to rate the album also, I'm also going to give the album 8/10. Now, the album is not an album that, unless you are a die-hard, hardcore Ckay fan, the album is not an album that you listen to and it will instantly grab you and say, oh, wow. The album will take time before it settles into you. And once the album settles into you, trust me, you will definitely not get enough. And I can guarantee you out of 12 tracks on the album, you will still have about 7 to 8 tracks that you're going to like very much on the album, that you will go back to and you keep playing. And that alone, makes the album a great album. And like you said, for a debut album, and given the standard which Ckay, has finally found himself, you could say that it came through, on the album. So, is there anything else you want to say about the album before we go?
Yes, I want to say this one. The first time I listened to the album, I told you that I felt I didn't really click with it. So on Twitter, when people are talking about this album, they say, oh, if you listen to Ckay album, you just go and you just go and fall in love. And if you don't listen to Ckay album, you never get better by that kind of thing. And I see those kind of reviews and I listen to it for the first time. I was like, what are these guys talking about? I didn't feel it, because the first time I listened to it, I was fighting sleep. I will not lie to you. I was fighting sleep. So I'm really grateful that I listened to it that third time and it finally, grew on me. Yes, the album grew on me.
Okay, that's good. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and my amazing members of the Chacha Nation, I have come to the end of another episode of the Chacha album review series. It's like you're married with another episode. My name will always remain Artiste, aka your musical plug, creator of the Energy Force. Remember, keep the energy, keep it 100, and keep it positive. Peace out.
Cha-cha time, two time for the cha-cha gang. Give me the cha-cha gang. Rockin' with the best, the cha-cha gang. Give me the cha-cha gang. Iilerioluwa cha-cha gang. Give me the cha-cha gang. What's in my body, cha-cha gang. Give me the cha-cha gang, cha-cha gang.
What's in my gut?